This week on the 77% Street Debate.
When it comes to politics, because it's such a public-facing role, my gender always becomes an issue.
This is how it is. We are being discriminated. We are simply endorsing our position as women in Zimbabwe, being treated as second-class citizens.
But it should be fair to say men also experience the same things.
The men make it hard for us to be women and feminine.
Hi everybody, the 77% is in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, and today Street Debate has a specific focus on women and their experiences in the workplace. I don't want to say any more and I'm going to get right into this discussion. Fatai, I want to come to you now because you're a lawyer but you're in politics. Tell us why you got into the field that you're in and the experiences that you have as a woman in this space.
Thank you so much, Christine. So I came out of the womb knowing that I wanted to be a lawyer. And when I joined the bar in 2012, I was the only woman there. And at first, even practitioners that would come to instruct me with, great high-value work would bring in their client and be like, I know she's young and she's black and she's a woman, but she's really good. So before you've opened your mouth, of course, they had to put a disclaimer. And when it comes to politics, because it's such a public-facing role, my gender always becomes an issue. So the sexualized comments. So you'll be in the middle of reading an amazing manifesto and the first thing people say is, oh, you're so pretty, or your hair's so nice, your dress is so nice, or are you married?
Okay. Mary, I want to come to you now because you really work in a male-dominated profession. Tell us what you do firstly and what your experience has been.
Okay, I'm a motor mechanic. I fix both diesel and petrol cars. I can say this. My field is a male-dominated field, and there are few women who can see in that field. So it was like a challenge to guys. It was a challenge to men that as a female, I'm also capable of doing. I'm also capable of lifting those heavy engines, lifting all those gearboxes. So it was a challenge of lack of support. They didn't want to support me. Sexual harassment, that was the biggest, because when I'm maybe busy working, you find a guy who come and touch you on a private party or somewhere where it's not comfortable. So it's for myself, I can say it's being a female in this field, it's so difficult.
You're such an inspiration. What a sterling example. I'm going to come to you now. Mandy, what has been your experience?
All right, my experience, I've been a professional journalist and I later got married. And when I got married, I had to join my husband who was based in South Africa. And by joining him, it meant me leaving my profession, which I had worked hard for. I had to do the cooking, the cleaning and everything. So what I had to do was to depend on my husband and wait for him to give me the salary to do everything.
Chengetai, I'm going to come to you now. You've heard the stories. What is your response to everything that you have heard this morning?
Well, that's quite a laundry list of things that have been said about men. But I would differ with that. We come from a history of people that venerate women, highly venerate women. And this, I say, there is empirical proof to that. If you go back to our history, you find out that we had female commanders like Mbuyane Handa. She commanded the length and breadth of the whole country. She was a woman. So coming from that history, fast forward, post-colonial Zimbabwe, you had women politicians like Margaret Dongo. She became the first woman to be an independent parliamentarian. And she went against all odds. So if you look at the current situation, I look at it as something that is getting mixed up with imported ideas to assume that men make it difficult for women to be in the workspace, but it shouldn't be like that.
Imported ideas, but these are experiences that women are having here. And I wondered if anybody perhaps wants to just respond to what we've heard. Okay, let's go, Judith, and I'll come here because you've all heard.
Chenge, I love you, you're my brother. But I'm female and I have the experience. I'm just trying to make you understand that when we are speaking and we are in our shoes, it's a different story. We speak for women, we speak for others, we feel the pain, we are there in the streets. This is how it is. We are being discriminated. We are simply endorsing our position as women in Zimbabwe, being treated as second-class citizens. And it's very clear. If you look at where we stand right now. So my issue is we need to get to a point where we acknowledge the problem.
Right. And then, Mandy, we're coming back to you because You have more to say about your personal experience as well. And perhaps you can educate Chengetai about your experience, which is probably the experience a lot of women in this country are having.
Okay. Like I had hinted earlier on, that when I got married, that's when I left my job. I can't blame marriage as such, but partly I can say the person I was with was not supportive of my career. When I wanted to go back to work, he was so reluctant. And as a woman, when I'll try to raise a point or suggest something in the home, he'll be like, no, you're taking your gender issues into this home. So am I not supposed to put across ideas in the home? Am I not to make suggestions? Am I not supposed to say something positive just because I'm a woman? I just have to sit, do the cooking and watch the guy do everything.
Okay, so Marvelous, coming to you now, imported ideas.
You know, it's good that Chenge is here as part of the panel and the only men of the panel here. But to call them imported ideas, I don't know. Maybe we misquoted him. He was talking about the men, but definitely not the women, especially around there, and the women in Zimbabwe. So yes, the men make it hard for us to be women and feminine in the workplace. At whatever fraternity, be it in the mechanics, law, politics, media, commercial industry, construction, men do make it hard for us.
I wondered, in your profession, of course, you've relayed the experiences you've had with men, and I wondered, how do women perceive you?
I would say it's a 50-50 situation, because there are some women who are so supportive. They will just say, you know what, girl, go for it, you know. As well as you find out there's still some women who still have that Stone Age mentality, culture, that mechanics is for men. You know, so they'll believe that maybe I need to snatch their husbands, because since I'm working with males each and every time. So sometimes I'll wake up early in the morning, then I'll find a message that, who are you? I saw your number saved in my man's phone. And then I'll say, what? I'm a mechanic. Then they say, what, a mechanic? It can't be. There's no a mechanic, because I see your number saved as mechanic. You can't be a female mechanic, you know. So it's something which is so difficult. There's still some women who need to be taught, to be trained, you know, to be taught that, you know what, mechanics it's not only for men. Even myself as a female, I can also join the trade,
Okay, but come back to Chengetai's imported ideas idea. What is your response there?
Well, I think I was disappointed, I have to be honest, with Chenge's views, because, you know, what often happens is when women articulate their lived reality, when they speak about their experiences and the discrimination they face, you know, instead of hearing them out and hearing their perspective, people are quick to jump and channel a defense. And, you know, what was particularly interesting about his responses, he had to pick a woman from a different century who is actually a spirit medium as his example of a woman in politics. I mean, that is everything. That displays everything wrong with the political space. Even if you look at Margaret Longo, the fact that she was there is not a victory for women. Let's look at what she had to endure, the names she was called, you know, the kind of jokes people would make around her. And the fact that you see these women, the fact that you see memory continuing in the space of being a mechanic, notwithstanding that they won't give her a toilet, notwithstanding that they're going to rub her up, touch her body, notwithstanding the fact that they pass rude comments, notwithstanding that they're trying to push her out of the market, you know, is a testament to her swimming up a waterfall. And that's what a lot of women do, whether it's in law, in media. And I'm not saying women aren't strong. We will overcome it. Trust me, I'm not going to leave the legal or political space because there's this discrimination. But we have to acknowledge that it's there. The fact that we can fight it and we're strong and we operate despite it doesn't invalidate all these experiences that we're talking about, and it doesn't make them okay.
All right, and at this juncture, I just want to introduce to you some research that was done by Transparency International Zimbabwe, where they actually found that, this was in 2019, half of the women in Zimbabwe had experienced sextortion. Now, that is essentially being asked for a sexual favor in exchange for an opportunity. Here is the experience of one woman who opened up and shared her story with us.
Approached a number of companies as I was trying to get a new job. My previous work was very physically demanding. If any woman wanted to be transferred to another department, she had to sleep with the boss of that department. If she refused, the transfer would not take place. I realized that working at a company here in Zimbabwe won't work for me. 3/4 of women in such companies are being used by men in order to get promoted. To be honest, here in Zimbabwe, there is no freedom. Most companies, I'm afraid to say, are affiliated with the government. If they identify you, they can hurt you. They will try by all means to hurt me. That is the reason why I conceal my identity.
So that is the experience of one woman. But Chengetai, you've also written on the subject of sextortion.
Well, maybe if we're to look at things, as I've emphasized earlier, that we have a societal problem, and we should not try and classify it as if it's women who are more prone to that. It's things that are happening to everybody. And there are certain stereotypes that come with men coming out in the open to say, oh, I experienced sextortion, or maybe I was sexually abused. It actually happened. Just recently, a young man was sexually abused by a much older woman, and guess what? The whole country was laughing, including women. So the point is, that was supposed to happen to a young girl. Everybody screams about it. I'm not saying people shouldn't scream about it, but it should be fair to say men also experience the same things.
Fazai, not Fazai, sorry, Marvelous, we'll come to you.
I understand where Chenge is coming. Okay, I don't understand where Chenge is coming from. I don't understand where Chenge is coming from, despite wearing the same pants, but I don't understand where he's coming from. But women, because we are tired, hence we come out and we tell our story. So yes, every single damn time, we will make noise about it. If it's for this story, I'm going to tweet and retweet till you're tired of me and block me and mute me on your timeline. If it's Memo's story, I'm going to scream about it. Not because Privilege's story or Chenge's story does not matter, or the other, my little brother or my male colleague's story does not matter, but because I am tired and they don't come out with their stories. So I'm tired of the stories. So it's not about it being unequal, but it's about women want to speak out. Do the men want to do the same?
Virginia, I want to talk about that Transparency International report again, because again, we need to emphasize more than half of women in this country say they've experienced extortion. Now, it's not just in the workplace. Girls in university, for example, have been deliberately failed by lecturers who then say, do me a sexual favor so you can pass. She would have passed, but she's been deliberately failed. Women trying to get water, for example, so something that they have a right to. Somebody asking for a sexual favor in return. You're at the Gender Commission. What are we going to do about this?
You know, sextortion, in terms of what it is, it's some form of corruption. And we know corruption is abuse of one's position for personal gain. And it's corruption that is sexual in nature. And corruption can only be done by somebody who has an opportunity and sits in a place to be corrupt. It's a crime of opportunity. If we come into the workspace, the majority leaders, the majority decision makers, directors, CEOs, HR, finance people are men. And what needs to be done, what we need to do, is to speak out unambiguously as people and say that it is wrong. Regardless of who does it, whether it's a man or a woman, it is wrong. And then having spoken out, we also need to make our laws work. Unfortunately, the Labour Act right now takes sextortion and sexual harassment as just an unfair labour practice. And in which case it is not treated
with... So it's not a crime?
It's not, unless it becomes rape or the other criminal offences that are part of that harassment. It is seen just as an unfair labour practice.
You've been quiet for too long.
Whatever laws that exist within the country or however they are being applied is not working well for women. But then the next question is, who is in the leadership position? You'd realize it's the men. So we need also to do advocacy to make sure that those people in leadership positions understand that the women down there are having problems. The women down there are facing sextortion, and it's very important for us to address that. We are not in competition. So I can't come up and say 55 girls have been raped, but you understand, the issue is that we have a problem and we need to address the problem without being in a competition.
You had your hand up, Chengetai.
I think we have a problem here. And the problem is that we are trying to make a societal problem a women's problem. It doesn't mean that men don't also get derogatory comments that come from women, but we have chosen to make it look like that. I mean, just try to imagine, we have 6 different stories against 1 different story. That actually statistically, it doesn't give out a good representation of the conversation.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll come to you now, Sis Virginia.
I just want to, 1, agree with Chenge that it is a societal problem, not just a women's problem. And it is a societal problem in that, although a lot of women will speak and share their experiences, society will still continue to deny them their voice. And then I want to now speak to the point that he raised about this particular session having so many women speaking because we were selected for certain reasons, and tell you that according to the Global Media Monitoring Project, which has just released a report right now, women's voices are less than 20% in the media. So this is just but a drop in the ocean. So when there's a deliberate opportunity for women to also speak, we need to be able to listen.
Fatah, you've been waiting a long time.
I was just going to say, maybe in response to what Chenge raised, that this conversation would not be complete without a discussion about male privilege. There are things that are embedded in our society that operate as clear obstacles to women. We have to be clear that, when women sometimes are held back, when a man is applying for attachment or an internship, no one is trying to come onto him. Instead, the older men are saying, Fana, come, I'll show you. And they go, they have a drink, and they talk about workplace issues. With the woman, the first response is, well, will you be my girlfriend? You've got nice legs. And sometimes it's very subtle. It's not always in your face, but the looks that you get, the behavior, the conduct. So, I'm all about women's empowerment. I'm all about women earning their way to the top. But let's be honest about the obstacles that women face as they, rise up the corporate and legal and media and political ladder.
Marvelous.
I think also to put an end to this, there needs to be a culture change when it comes to the language we use. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but in our Zimbabwean society, which is highly patriarchal, they believe that a man can take charge, a woman can take care. So I think that what needs to change is the language that we're using as a society, not just as men or as women, but as a society in whole. There needs to change the language that we're using so that these gender stereotypes stop. And I heard what Chenge is saying, and he was really trying to play the devil's advocate. But you know what? Women in the workplace, they still are facing the hurdles, whether we want to face it or not. But I know many Zimbabwean men are not ready for that conversation.
Yeah. Well, that is where our conversation ends for today, but we will continue that on social media because we're interested to know about the experiences you have had in the country that you live in. Let's keep that conversation alive. We are the 77% out here in Harare speaking to the women and men of this country and the experiences that they've had as they try to navigate their place, take their space in the workspace. Thank you so much for watching. For myself, Christine Mundwa, and everybody out here, looking forward to engaging with you. Bye-bye, and as we say in Shona, Tonana.